The king was so obsessed he broke every rule of God and court to make a courtesan his queen. Hey everyone, this is a story about a girl who was born with nothing, taught to want nothing, and decided she would take everything. It's a climb from the gutter to the gilded halls of a king's private chambers, and her final fall would become the stuff of legend. Get comfortable, because today on Shadow of History, we're diving into the true story that inspired the film The King's Favorite. Our tale begins not in a palace, but in poverty. France, 1740s. A child is born from silence and scandal, the daughter of a monk and a servant. Her name is Jeanne. Society had a single cruel plan for her: invisibility. She was expected to live small, accept her lot, and vanish. But some souls are simply not built for vanishing. A local nobleman, touched by pity, ensures the girl has food and, dangerously, the basics of an education. He sees a spark in her that frightens him. To protect that spark, or perhaps to snuff it out, he sends young Jeanne to a convent. It's a gilded cage of prayer and silence. But Jeanne finds a secret key: the convent's forbidden library. Here, she doesn't just learn to read scripture, she devours philosophy, poetry, and texts about desire and power that were never meant for a woman's eyes. This knowledge becomes a dangerous awakening. She understands that her beauty, her mind, her very presence could be tools, not just traps. When the nuns discover her transgression, there is no forgiveness. She is cast out onto the street. With her mother, she flees to Paris. The city is a beast of glitter and grime. Jeanne's literacy gets her a position in a wealthy household. For a moment, stability seems possible. Then a predictable scandal erupts. She is discovered in a compromising situation and thrown out once more. At this crossroads, most would choose a life of quiet shame. Jeanne makes a different choice. She decides to play the game the world has forced upon her, but by her own ruthless rules. She would trade in desire, but she would set the price. Jeanne Bécu becomes a courtesan, not a common streetwalker, but a celebrated companion to the wealthy and powerful. She learns to navigate the salons of Paris, her wit as sharp as her beauty. She refuses to hide her origins. This audacity, this unapologetic ownership of her story is her greatest power. It attracts a calculating count, Jeanne du Barry. He makes her his kept woman, a dazzling trophy. But du Barry has a grander plan, one that involves the most powerful man in France. King Louis XV is bored, melancholy, and trapped in the suffocating ritual of Versailles. He craves distraction, novelty, warmth. The Count sees an opportunity. He will present Jeanne to the king. No one asks Jeanne what she wants. In a final act of humiliation, du Barry throws her love of reading in her face, dragging her into a bath to scrub away her ignorance. Something in Jeanne solidifies into cold resolve. She is presented to Louis. She expects a lecherous old monarch. What she finds is a weary, lonely man who looks at her not as an object, but as a fascinating mystery. He is disarmed by her, and she, for the first time, feels seen. The king's command is immediate. His envoy arrives at du Barry's home with a bag of gold. The transaction is clear. The king has purchased his new favorite. Jeanne is taken to Versailles. Before she can enter the royal bedchamber, she is inspected by doctors and tutored in etiquette by the king's valet, Laborde. He teaches her how to walk, how to curtsy. When she asks if he will teach her how to speak for court, he dismisses her. The king does not require your words. He requires your presence. Her voice is irrelevant. Yet when she finally stands before Louis in his private rooms, a nervous laugh escapes her. "You look just like the coins," she blurts out, referring to his profile on currency. She freezes, awaiting wrath. Instead, the king laughs with her. In that moment, the ice of Versailles cracks. He doesn't just keep her for the night. He hides her in a secret closet the next morning, letting her watch the absurd, rigid ballet of the levee ceremony, the ritual of the king's rising. He glances at her peeking through the door, her face a breath of fresh air in his stale, performative life. He's hooked. He gifts her a magnificent necklace and a demand: stay at Versailles forever. Jeanne, the girl from nowhere, is now the king's official mistress. But Versailles does not accept outsiders. To give her standing, the king arranges a marriage of convenience, forcing the humiliated Count du Barry to marry her. Overnight, Jeanne Bécu becomes the Comtesse du Barry. The title is a legal fiction, a mask, but Jeanne learns to wear that mask better than any born noble. Guided by Laborde, she studies the court like a military campaign. She learns every alliance, every slight, every hidden dagger behind a smile. For her first grand appearance, she wears a gown that is a declaration of war. She curtsies to the king, then lifts her eyes to meet his, an act of profound insolence. The king's daughters, who despise her, storm out in protest. The king is delighted. She is life to him. Under his protection, she transforms part of Versailles. She brings in artists, musicians, playwrights. She creates a vibrant salon within the stale palace. The king, in turn, gives her a private mansion, a refuge from the court's gaze. He also gives her a living ornament, a young Indian boy named Zamor. Where the court sees an exotic pet, Jeanne sees a child. She raises him with genuine love, forming a family she never had. For years, this delicate balance holds. But power at Versailles is a temporary illusion. A new storm arrives from Austria. The young Dauphine, Marie Antoinette, the future queen. The court immediately splits. The king's daughters poison Marie Antoinette against the sinful Comtesse. The future queen, following their lead, commits the ultimate Versailles insult. She refuses to acknowledge Jeanne's existence. To be invisible at court is a social death. A personal tragedy compounds this. The young son of Count du Barry, a boy Jeanne had grown to love, dies tragically. Grieving and isolated, Jeanne has only the king, and Louis, witnessing her pain, finally intervenes. He confronts Marie Antoinette and commands her to speak to the Comtesse. The future queen obeys, offering only cold, empty words. But for Jeanne, it was a victory. She had been acknowledged. In a world of whispers, a king's command was the only truth that mattered. The victory is brief. The king falls ill, not a passing ailment, but a deadly, contagious disease. Laborde, ever practical, urges Jeanne to flee before the royal family turns on her. She refuses. She stays by Louis' side, risking death, nursing him. As he nears his end, a priest delivers the final blow. To die in peace, the king must confess his sins and remove the scandal from his presence. Jeanne must go. Heartbroken, the dying king asks her to leave. She obeys, but she returns for one final forbidden farewell. She tells him she will love him forever, and for the last time she makes him smile. Then she walks backwards from his chamber, never turning her back on her king. A final act of defiant respect. Louis's last order to Laborde is simple: protect her. Louis dies. The new king, Louis XVI, and Queen Marie Antoinette immediately exile Jeanne du Barry. She is sent to the same convent she escaped as a girl. After a year, she is released, but banished from court forever. She lives in quiet retirement for 15 years, a forgotten ghost of a bygone era. Then, history itself knocks on her door. The French Revolution erupts. The guillotine falls on the nobility. In a twist of fate, the now imprisoned Marie Antoinette reaches out, perhaps for alliance or absolution. It is too late. Jeanne, like so many others, is arrested by the revolutionaries. Standing on the scaffold, she looks at the crowd and says, "One moment more, Monsieur Executioner. I loved life too much for it to be taken from me in an instant." And with that, the girl who climbed from nothing to the king's side was erased by the blade.
Her story is one of breathtaking audacity, survival, and the high cost of a life lived entirely on one's own terms. If you found this journey through the shadows of history captivating, do the channel a solid and hit that like button. It truly helps Shadow of History bring you more deep dives into forgotten lives. Subscribe and ring the bell so you don't miss the next story. Until then, keep thinking.